They say the moment your whole life changes never announces itself. It doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't arrive with a knock at the door or a phone call in the middle of the night. It walks up to you quietly, in a crowded airport, under fluorescent lights, while you're trying to keep two crying babies from waking up the entire terminal. That's where Sophia was standing. Gate C, LAX. Arms burning. Diaper bag slipping off her shoulder. 18-month-old twins, one asleep, one furious, pressed against both sides of her chest like two anchors pulling her in opposite directions. She hadn't slept more than 4 hours in 3 days. She was exhausted in the way that only new mothers understand, the kind of tired that lives in your bones, in your eyes, in the corners of your smile. She was heading to her mother's house in Atlanta. Not because she wanted to run. Because she needed to think. Because something in her marriage had gone cold, and she could not figure out why. And then she saw him. 30 feet away. Her husband. Julian Bennett. Tall. Confident. That expensive suit she'd picked out for him last Christmas. He was at the first-class check-in counter. And for one brief, beautiful second, relief flooded her chest. He changed his mind. He didn't take the New York trip. He came to help with the babies. She started walking toward him. And then she stopped. Because there was a woman beside him. And Julian, her husband, was touching the small of that woman's back the same way he used to touch hers. Like she belonged to him. Like Sophia didn't exist. Like his wife and his children, not 30 feet away, were strangers in the crowd. What happened next would cost Julian Bennett everything he'd spent 15 years building. What happened next would turn a tired, heartbroken mother into the most dangerous opponent he had ever faced. And what happened next, started with a baby's cry. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. Who was this woman? Why was Julian Bennett, a man who told his wife he was traveling to New York for business, checking in at LAX for a first-class flight to Paris? And why, in the years since the twins were born, had he become a stranger living inside their home? These are the questions that would follow Sophia for the next 72 hours. But here's what you need to understand before we go any further. Julian Bennett was not just a successful man. He was a man who had built his entire identity on the belief that he was smarter than everyone around him. Smarter than his business partners. Smarter than his employees. And most of all, smarter than his wife. He believed Sophia was gentle. Trusting. Occupied with babies and bottles and middle-of-the-night feedings. He believed she would never look too closely at the finances. He believed she would never ask the hard questions. He believed, right up until the moment he was wrong, that he was completely untouchable. And here's what makes this story extraordinary. Sophia was tired. Sophia was heartbroken. Sophia was standing in a crowded airport holding 2 babies and a shattered marriage. But Sophia was also her mother's daughter. A woman raised to understand that dignity is not something you beg for. You build it. You fight for it. You reclaim it, one document, one phone call, one attorney meeting at a time. Julian Bennett picked the wrong woman to underestimate. And by the time this story is over, you're going to understand exactly why. Stay with us. Because what Sophia discovered inside Julian's home office would not just end a marriage. It would send a man to federal prison. To understand how Sophia got to that airport, you have to understand who she was before Julian. She grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Raised by a woman named Patricia, strong, steady, the kind of mother who never let her daughter see her cry, but also never let her daughter believe that being a woman meant being small. Sophia was creative. Sharp. She had a gift for design, color, composition, visual storytelling. She put herself through school on a partial scholarship and freelance graphic work, and she graduated with a portfolio that impressed everyone who saw it. She met Julian Bennett at a mutual friend's rooftop party in Los Angeles. He was 31. She was 28. He was charming in that particular way, not flashy, not loud. The kind of charming that feels like a warm room on a cold night. He listened when she talked. He remembered small things. He made her feel seen. And he was ambitious. His construction company was 4 years old and already profitable. He talked about quality the way some men talk about family, with reverence, with pride. "I want to build things that last 50 years, he told her once, early on. Things that people walk into and feel safe. She believed him. They married in the fall of their 3rd year together. Simple ceremony, her mother's backyard, late afternoon light turning everything gold. The first 2 years were good. Then the twins came. Camden and Charlotte arrived 6 weeks early, turning their quiet life into a beautiful, terrifying sprint. Sophia poured herself into those children the way she poured herself into everything, completely, instinctively, with both hands. And Julian. Julian pulled away. Not all at once. That would have been easier to name, easier to confront. It happened slowly, the way a tide retreats. He started working later. 7 o'clock became 9. 9 became midnight. Business trips, always necessary, always urgent, began multiplying. He stopped asking how the babies were sleeping. He stopped looking at Sophia the way he used to. And Sophia, exhausted, postpartum, convinced she was the one failing at something, made excuses. He's under pressure. The business is growing. This is just a phase. Every marriage has rough patches. We just need to get through this. She told herself this the way people tell themselves things they desperately need to believe. But here is what was actually happening inside Julian Bennett's world. Julian's company had changed. In the early years, he was meticulous. Careful. The man who talked about buildings that would stand for 50 years. But success has a way of corrupting certain kinds of ambition. When there is more money to be made, some men cut corners to make it faster. When there are more contracts to win, some men use cheaper materials and call it efficiency. Julian had become one of those men. He started overbilling clients. Using substandard materials on public works projects. Exploiting undocumented workers, paying them below minimum wage, pocketing the difference. His former business partner, Tom Richardson, had seen it happening and confronted him about it. Julian dismissed him. Called him naive. Said everyone in the business did it. Tom left the company rather than participate. And Julian, freed from the only person in his inner circle willing to tell him the truth, leaned further in. He opened offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. He began quietly moving money out of reach. And somewhere in the middle of all of this deception, he met a woman named Victoria. She worked at a high-end art gallery in Los Angeles. Beautiful. 25. The kind of woman who makes a man feel like the version of himself he always believed he was supposed to be. Julian began rewriting his own story. In this new version, he was a man trapped in a loveless marriage to a woman who had let herself go, who was consumed by children, who no longer truly saw him. He began telling this story to Victoria. He told it so many times, and with such conviction, that he started to believe it himself. He told Victoria they were already separated. He told her Sophia knew about the affair and had accepted it. He told her they were just working out the paperwork. Meanwhile, Sophia was at home with their 18-month-old twins, asking herself what she was doing wrong. That is the cruelty of this kind of betrayal. It does not just wound the person being deceived. It makes them the architect of their own suffering. It makes them ask, what did I miss? What did I do? Why wasn't I enough? It would take one moment, 30 feet of crowded terminal, a pair of crying babies, and a husband's hand on another woman's back, to end those questions forever. And replace them with much better ones. Camden's cry cut through the noise of the terminal like a siren. And Julian's head snapped around. Their eyes met. For one split second, half a heartbeat, his face went completely white. Then something shifted. Not guilt. Not shame. Annoyance. He turned back to the check-in counter. The woman beside him, Victoria, turned to look at Sophia. Not with sympathy. Not with guilt. With assessment. Like she was measuring Sophia and finding her lacking. Like she was the rightful owner of Julian's attention, and Sophia was the interruption. Sophia stood frozen. Charlotte had woken up and joined her brother, both twins now crying in near-perfect harmony. Other travelers stared. A flight attendant materialized at Sophia's elbow asking if she needed help. She barely heard any of it. All she could see was Julian's hand on Victoria's back. The jewelry around Victoria's neck that she'd never seen before, but somehow already knew Julian had bought. Julian finished the check-in process and guided Victoria toward the first-class security line. He did not look back. Not once. Sophia found her voice. Julian. He stopped. Did not turn around. Julian. Louder. When he finally faced her, his expression was cold in a way she had never seen before. Like looking at the face of a man she had never actually met. Sophia. What are you doing here? The question landed like a closed fist. What was she doing here? She was his wife. She was the mother of his children. She was supposed to be the person he would walk through a crowded airport to reach. I'm taking the children to see my mother, she managed. I told you yesterday. He glanced at his watch. Right. Well, we should get going. Our flight boards soon. Our flight. Victoria stepped forward. Her voice was honey and impatience. Julian, we really should go through security. He nodded. Turned back to Sophia. Take care of yourself. And the kids. That was it. No explanation. No apology. No acknowledgement that he was dismantling everything they had built together. He walked away. And Sophia stood in the middle of LAX with 2 crying babies, a diaper bag, and a heart that had just been broken open like a fault line. But here is what Julian Bennett did not see. He did not see the exact moment when grief stopped being the only thing in Sophia's eyes. He did not see the moment when something harder and colder and sharper settled in alongside it. He did not see the moment his wife stopped being someone who needed him. And became someone who was going to make him pay. The flight to Atlanta was 3 hours of concentrated revelation. The twins slept. Sophia did not. She thought about the way Julian had looked at her. Like she was a stranger causing a scene. Like she was an inconvenience to be managed. She thought about the months of absence, the late nights, the creeping distance that she had spent so long explaining away. And she began to understand, for the first time, that she had not been failing her marriage. She had been alone in it. Her mother Patricia was waiting at baggage claim, arms open, eyes reading everything Sophia's face was saying without a single word. Baby girl. You look exhausted. I saw Julian at the airport. With another woman. Patricia's jaw tightened. A long pause. I wondered when you'd figure it out. You knew. I suspected. The traveling. The way he stopped asking about the babies when you called. Men who are happy at home don't become strangers to their children. That evening, Sophia called her best friend Lauren in Los Angeles. I've been waiting for you to call, Lauren said. You saw them. I've seen them together at that restaurant on 5th. And at the coffee shop near his office. She works at an art gallery somewhere downtown. Victoria something. Victoria. The woman had a name. How long? Sophia asked. I first saw them maybe 4 months ago. But Sophia, the way they were together. It didn't look new. 4 months. Maybe longer. While Sophia was fighting through postpartum exhaustion. While she was trying to be a good mother and a good wife and wondering why she could not seem to be enough of either. There's something else, Lauren continued. I heard Julian's been telling people you two are having problems. That you've been distant since the babies came. Like he's already laying the groundwork. Laying the groundwork. He wasn't just cheating. He was rewriting history. Building a narrative where Sophia was the cause of the marriage's failure before she even knew it was failing. He had already planned his exit. She just hadn't known she was supposed to start planning hers. That night, Julian called. Sophia answered, still hoping, against everything she had seen, that there was some explanation. That she was missing something. Sophia, he said, without greeting her. I need you to sign some papers when you get back. My attorney will email them. Business stuff. Separating some assets to protect the company. She felt a chill move through her. What kind of papers? Technical things. You wouldn't understand the details. Just sign them and send them back. I need them processed quickly. She almost agreed. 3 months ago, 3 weeks ago, she would have signed without reading. Instead, she heard her mother's voice in her head. The right question is, what are you going to do about it? I'll have my attorney look at them first, Sophia said. The silence on the other end was its own kind of answer. "There's no need to involve lawyers in business matters," Julian said, voice tightening. "There's also no need for me to sign papers I don't understand." Another silence. Longer. "Fine. But don't take forever. These things are time-sensitive." He hung up without saying goodbye. And Sophia stared at her phone and understood, with total clarity, that she was not dealing with a husband who had made a mistake. She was dealing with a man who had been planning this for a very long time. If this story has you on the edge of your seat, drop "I'm still watching" in the comments. Let's see who's writing this all the way to the end. Rachel Torres occupied the 20th floor of a sleek downtown Atlanta building, and the first thing Sophia noticed was that she looked nothing like a shark. She looked like someone's favorite aunt. Graying hair in a practical ponytail. Laugh lines deep enough to be real. The kind of warmth that made you feel like you could say anything. But when Rachel spread Julian's documents across her desk and began reading, those warm eyes went sharp as cut glass. "These papers want you to transfer majority ownership of Julian's company into an exclusive trust. If you sign this, you give up any claim to the business you helped him build during your marriage." "I helped him build it," Sophia said. "In California, you didn't just help him. You own half of it." Rachel looked up. "These documents would sign away millions of dollars, Sophia." The word hit her like a physical wave. Millions. "Julian's company is worth approximately $8 million based on the financials I'm looking at. There's also real estate, investment accounts, other assets. Your half of the community property is probably close to $5 million. Sophia sat very still. She had known Julian was successful. She had never known the exact numbers. He had always handled the finances, given her a household credit card, told her she didn't need to worry about the details. Now she understood why. "He's trying to steal from me," she said. "That's exactly what he's doing. And the pressure to sign quickly tells me he's planning to file for divorce soon. He wants these assets moved before you have legal representation." Rachel paused. "I also did some research on his business last night. There are irregularities in his tax filings. Possible fraud." The room seemed to tilt slightly. In 24 hours, her marriage had become a crime scene. Rachel's instructions were precise. "Do not sign anything. File for legal separation immediately. Begin documenting the affair and any financial misconduct. And, most critically, do not let Julian know she had hired an attorney. The longer he thinks you're naive and compliant," Rachel said, "the more evidence he'll give us." Julian called 3 more times on the drive back to Patricia's house. Sophia let every call go to voicemail. Each unanswered ring felt like reclaiming something she had not known she'd lost. 3 days later, Sophia returned to Los Angeles. Julian was still traveling. And the house that had been her home for 3 years felt like a place she was visiting for the first time. She started in his home office. The room she had barely entered in 3 years because Julian had told her it was cluttered with business papers that would only confuse her. She found the key exactly where she knew he kept it, taped under the desk drawer, same hiding spot he'd used since they moved in. Some habits never change. What she found inside the filing cabinets made her hands shake. Bank statements for accounts she had never seen. Credit card records from the last 6 months, jewelry stores, luxury hotels, Michelin-starred restaurants. None of it for Sophia. None of it for the children. One receipt made the room go completely quiet around her. A $5,000 necklace from Tiffany. Purchased 2 weeks after the twins' first birthday. While Sophia was cutting the homemade cake. While Camden was laughing with frosting on his nose. While Charlotte was taking her first clumsy steps. Julian had been buying jewelry for his mistress. She photographed everything. Then she found deeper files. Correspondence with offshore banks. Account numbers in the Cayman Islands. Records of money being moved out of the country in careful, systematic transfers. Julian wasn't just hiding assets from their divorce. He was hiding them from the government. Then she found the burner phone. It was tucked inside his laptop bag. She almost missed it. When she powered it on, there were hundreds of messages between Julian and Victoria. But it wasn't the intimate ones that destroyed her. It was the ones about Sophia herself. "She's too focused on the babies to notice anything," Julian had written. "Perfect timing for us. Victoria's response, poor thing. Probably still thinks she has a chance at happily ever after. Sophia read the messages with the same focused calm she imagined surgeons use in operating rooms. The final one, dated 3 days ago, my lawyer says if Sophia signs the papers this week, we're in the clear. She'll get the house and some support, but the real money stays with me. She photographed every single screen. That evening, she called Rachel. Sophia, Rachel said, after listening to everything. This isn't just adultery and hidden assets. This looks like serious tax fraud. The IRS is going to be very interested in those Cayman accounts. What does that mean for the divorce? It means we have leverage that most wives in your position never get. Julian isn't just facing a messy settlement. He's facing potential criminal charges. The last thing he wants is this becoming public record. Rachel paused. There's one more thing. Julian's going to figure out you've been investigating. When he does, he might try to cut off your finances. Cancel credit cards, drain joint accounts. Classic financial pressure tactics. Sophia looked around the house she had made into a home. The furniture she had chosen. The photographs she had framed. The children's rooms she had painted herself during the last month of her pregnancy because Julian had been too busy. Let him try, she said quietly. And she meant it. When Rachel's legal papers hit Julian's attorney's office at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, his response arrived before 10. He wanted to meet in person. Like civilized adults. Rachel warned her it was a manipulation attempt. Sophia agreed to go anyway. I want to see him try, she said. Julian arrived at the conference room looking like a man who had not slept in days. Hair disheveled. Suit wrinkled. Dark circles beneath his eyes. Good, Sophia thought. Let him feel some of it. His attorney, Patricia Blackwood, laid out a counteroffer so insulting it was almost impressive in its audacity. Limited custody. Minimal support. No access to the offshore accounts. These demands are unreasonable, Patricia said. My husband committed tax fraud and hid marital assets, Sophia replied. He should be grateful I'm not leading with criminal prosecution. Julian leaned forward. Voice dropping to the intimate register she had once found irresistible. Sophia. We created something beautiful together. 2 amazing children. Don't destroy that legacy because you're hurt about Victoria. I'm not hurt about Victoria, Julian. I'm angry about you trying to steal from our children. She placed her phone on the table. Screenshots. Messages. His own words, rendered into undeniable evidence. She's too focused on the babies to notice anything. The real money stays with me. Julian's face went white. Rachel placed a thick folder on the table. Mr. Bennett, we have documentation of your tax evasion, your business fraud, and the systematic hiding of marital assets. We also have testimony from a former business partner regarding illegal labor practices and safety violations. It was at that moment Julian asked to speak to Sophia privately. Against Rachel's advice, she agreed. They stepped onto the hotel's outdoor balcony. Sophia. His voice had changed, softer now, almost gentle. This isn't you. You're not vindictive. You're not someone who destroys families. I'm not being vindictive. I'm being protective. There's a difference. I made mistakes. I know that. But we can fix this privately. The time for fixing things privately was before you started cheating and hiding assets. His mask slipped. Not anger. Something worse. Cold calculation. Our marriage has been over for months. We can end this amicably, or we can destroy each other in court. Your choice. It stopped being my choice when you started planning your exit while pretending you still had one foot in our marriage. She walked back inside. That weekend, Sophia changed every lock in the house. When Julian appeared Monday morning and his key wouldn't turn, the call came within 60 seconds. You can't lock me out of my own house. It's not your house. It's our house. And I live here with our children. If you want access, arrange it through your attorney like any other separated parent. Sophia, this is ridiculous. I just want to get some clothes. You should have thought of that before you moved in with Victoria. The silence on the other end told her she had aimed exactly right. He hadn't expected her to know about the apartment. 2 days later, Victoria herself appeared on the doorstep. More stunning in person than she had been from 30 feet away at LAX. Polished. Composed. The kind of woman who seemed to have been designed for rooms that Sophia had always felt slightly underdressed for. "We need to talk," Victoria said. "No, we don't. Please. Just 5 minutes. Woman to woman." Sophia stepped outside and closed the door behind her. "Julian told me you were already separated," Victoria said. "He told me you both agreed it was over. That you were just working out the paperwork. I'm not a homewrecker. I would never pursue a married man who was trying to save his marriage." "Victoria." Sophia kept her voice level. "We were never separated. We never discussed divorce. I found out about you when I saw you both at the airport. I was carrying our babies. He pretended not to know me." Victoria's composure cracked. "A hairline fracture, but it was there. He said you knew about us. He said you were okay with it. Does this look like someone who was okay with it? I'm fighting for full custody and half of everything he owns." A long silence. "He lied to me," Victoria said finally. "He lied to both of us. The question is what you do with that now." Victoria left without another word. And Sophia went inside and held her children. Camden babbling happily. Charlotte trying to eat her own foot. Both of them completely unaware that the world had just shifted on its axis around them. But they were going to be okay. Their mother was going to make absolutely certain of that. 2 weeks later, Tom Richardson changed everything. He called Sophia from his office and his voice was careful and deliberate in the way of someone delivering information they know will land hard. "Federal investigators contacted me," he said. "Julian's company is under investigation. Not just tax evasion. Contract fraud on public works projects, schools, community centers. Built with materials that could fail catastrophically. The investigation started when that deck collapsed at the birthday party, but it's expanded to cover 3 years of contracts." Sophia sat with that for a long moment. The Julian she had fallen in love with had talked about building things that would last 50 years. Buildings where people felt safe. He had built the opposite. And he had done it to children. "If Julian goes to prison," she asked, "what happens to his assets?" "Criminal forfeiture. The government could seize everything. Including the offshore accounts." Sophia understood immediately. She had to move faster than the federal government. And Julian, learning about the investigation simultaneously, made his own desperate move. Her credit cards were cancelled. The joint accounts were emptied. The safe deposit box had already been cleaned out. He was trying to force her to capitulate. Make her desperate enough to take whatever scraps he offered. He had miscalculated one final time. Sophia had been preparing for exactly this. For months she had been setting aside money from her freelance graphic design work, accounts Julian didn't know existed. She had documented every asset. She was not dependent on his goodwill or his access. She was ready. Rachel's eyes lit up when Sophia laid out the new strategy. "What if we offer to cooperate with the federal investigation in exchange for better settlement terms?" "That," Rachel said slowly, "is brilliant." The plan worked in 24 hours. Within a day of Rachel contacting Julian's attorney about Sophia's potential cooperation with federal investigators, Julian was demanding an emergency meeting. He came alone this time. No attorney. No armor. He looked like a man who had finally understood what was happening to him. "Name your terms," he said. Sophia placed a folder on the table. Account numbers. Bank statements. Transaction records. Full custody. Half of all assets, including the offshore accounts. Substantial spousal support for 5 years. The family home. And protected college funds for Camden and Charlotte. The offshore accounts don't exist. The FBI has copies of everything I found, Julian. He went quiet for a long time. "If you testify against me, you'll destroy the children's father. I want my children to have a father who isn't a criminal. Since that's apparently impossible, I want them to have financial security and a mother who taught them that actions have consequences." He paced. He argued. He appealed to the children, to their history, to the version of himself he still believed he could sell her on. Then he stopped. "What exactly do you want?" Everything I asked for. And Julian, I want Victoria gone completely while you're dealing with your legal situation. No contact. You can't control who I see. I can if you want me to stay quiet about what I know. Victoria received payments from your offshore accounts through her gallery. She's as liable as you are. It was a calculated risk. Julian's expression confirmed she had guessed correctly. Within a week, the settlement was signed. Full custody. Half of all marital assets including the offshore accounts. 5 years of substantial spousal support. The family home. Protected college funds. And her freedom. On the day the divorce was finalized, Sophia stood in the courthouse with her documents and felt, for the first time in months, something that was not grief, not determination, not the cold focused anger that had carried her through the fight. She felt happy. Genuinely, completely, quietly happy. Not because Julian had lost. Because she had won something that had nothing to do with money. She had won back herself. The woman who had stood in that airport, exhausted and heartbroken and invisible, that woman had become someone who knew exactly what she was worth and exactly what she was capable of. Julian had thought she was too focused on the babies to notice. Too naive to understand his schemes. Too dependent to survive without him. He had been wrong. Spectacularly, expensively, irrevocably wrong. 6 months later, Rachel called with one more piece of news. Julian's been arrested. Federal charges, contract fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy. He's looking at 5 to 10 years. Sophia sat with the twins on the kitchen floor, Camden stacking blocks, Charlotte systematically knocking them over. She felt sadness for her children, who would grow up knowing their father had chosen crime over family. She felt no sadness for Julian. His choices had been his own. Every last one. And the settlement, she asked. Protected. Because the assets were transferred through the divorce before the federal seizure, your share and the children's funds are untouched. The irony was almost elegant. Julian's schemes to hide money from Sophia had inadvertently protected that same money from the government. His final betrayal had become his children's inheritance. There's one more thing, Rachel said. Victoria. No charges filed. She was an unwitting participant. She's cooperating with investigators and has completely cut ties with Julian. Sophia thought about Victoria on the doorstep. He lied to me. He lied to both of us. She hoped Victoria built something real from the ruins of that truth. Everyone deserved a chance to rebuild. Even the people who had hurt you. Sophia Bennett did not just survive her husband's betrayal. She turned it into the foundation of everything she built next. Her graphic design business grew to a team of 5. Her clients ranged from local nonprofits to national corporations. Her children grew into bright, confident 8-year-olds who knew what it meant to be loved by someone who chose to stay. And Tom Richardson, the man who had left Julian's company rather than participate in his crimes, the man who had testified against him, the man who had quietly, patiently become Sophia's most trusted ally, became something more. He asked her to dinner, then to a second dinner, then one evening, with the twins watching from the hallway in their pajamas, he got down on one knee. She said yes. And Camden and Charlotte, asked if Tom could officially be their dad, answered simultaneously, the way twins often do, yes. Some stories end in ruins. This one ended in foundation. So here is the question I want to leave with you today. At what point in this story would you have made a different choice? When Julian asked for those papers, would you have signed them, the way he was counting on? When you discovered the offshore accounts, would you have confronted him directly, or done what Sophia did, go quiet, go strategic, and let him believe he still had the advantage? And when everything was finally over, would you have answered that last phone call from jail? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know. Because the truth is, this story isn't just about Sophia and Julian. It's about every person who has ever been underestimated. And about what becomes possible the moment you decide to stop proving yourself to the people who never saw you clearly. Subscribe to Karma's Edge Stories, and stay with us. Because the next story, you won't see the ending coming. Not even close.